Hey everybody, this is Ganon23000, and today I'm going to be talking about the many control schemes that the Zelda series has implemented over the years. Which ones worked? Which ones didn't? I'll be ranking my top 5. Well, there are really only 5 control schemes in the series. But these are the very things that games are built upon! They're important! So let's get started with number 5. The controls of Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks were definitely my least favorite of any other games in the series. They were specifically made for the touchscreen handheld, which is kinda cool, and it introduced certain puzzles that could not have been done in the same way on other systems. But it still managed to take away from the overall appeal of these games. The big problem is that a lot of these puzzles dealt with precision, and it's hard to be precise when you have a big clunky hand. One thing that often happened to me was when I was drawing the path for Phantom Zelda and I'd mess it up and have to do it over again. It's also frustrating to have to throw the boomerang over and over again. There were still a couple of cool things that came out of this stylus system, however. I really liked being able to draw my own maps, and the combat system wasn't totally terrible. It wasn't engaging or fun by any means, but it worked. These games could have easily been worse, but I think it's also fair to say that they could have been a lot better with the traditional controls as well. Nonetheless, let's move on to number 4. The side-scrolling controls of Zelda 2 are pretty unique for the Zelda series. They're built largely around combat, which is actually pretty cool. But now that the series has had time to establish its formula, its innate Zelda-ness, we realize that the adventure of Link just doesn't fit the mold of any other games in the series. This isn't a bad thing by any means. I don't mean to discourage the originality of this gameplay, but I just personally prefer the other control layouts that have been used in the series to this one. I'm actually just holding a grudge because this game frustrated my 5th grade self to no end. This game had 2 systems of play. One for its top-down perspective, which was a bit boring, and another for the action. Now when I play Zelda, I expect not only great action, but the ability to explore a world which isn't awkwardly divided from the one that I fight in. In the end, it was a fun idea for this one game, but they knew it wasn't right for the franchise as they never used these controls again. Number 3 goes to motion controls, and I'm not talking about the quasi-motion controls of the Wii port of Twilight Princess. I mean the full-on Wii Motion Plus stuff that was used in Skyward Sword. I feel like anyone who talks about these controls is either completely for it or completely against it. I'm one of those people who really loves it. Similar to Zelda 2, this method of control really diverges quite drastically from other games in the series. And again, it's based heavily on combat, albeit done in a very different way. While other Zelda games had you fight enemies with the press of a button, Skyward Sword had the player actually move the Wiimote as if it were a weapon. You actually had to physically aim your arrows, swing your whip, and slash your sword in very specific movements in order to hit an enemy's weak points. You also got to play the goddess's harp, but this was a bit of a disappointment to me. I would have much preferred the goddess's trombone. A common complaint for these controls is that the Wiimote would oftentimes lose its focus and would need to be recalibrated, taking time and attention away from gameplay. But I personally experienced very little of this, and even if I did have to recalibrate my controller, it never took me away from the immersive game world. Motion control really made me slow down and use my head during a fight. Don't you hate that? In other Zelda games, I would find myself just mashing away at the A button trying to kill a monster as quickly as possible, but that cannot be done here. You really see this for the first time during your first encounter with Girahim. You have to carefully swing away from his hand so he is unable to take your sword and use it against you. This was a change that I was very accepting of. Even the action of this game was made to have more of a puzzle element, which is a crucial part of the Zelda formula in the first place. Although I don't believe it's the best, I would love to see another game in the franchise use motion controls to this degree. Looks like we're down to the top 2. There's been quite a bit of discussion regarding these control schemes as of late, and I think it's about time I weigh in. This decision might be a bit surprising, but I'm giving third-person controls 2nd place even though I prefer 3D Zeldas to 2D. For many people, these are the controls that immediately come to mind when discussing Zelda. This is because many of the larger, more expansive games in the series use this control layout. All of these games entail traversing a large 3-dimensional world, lining up targets with that little red dot, and striking your foes while holding down that trusty Z button. It's a system that's effective and has been proven to work. This control scheme has offered plenty of solid gameplay over the years. We've conquered great mountains, sailed the swift waters, felled great beasts, oh, and think of great labyrinths like the Stone Tower Temple from Majora's Mask. This dungeon, God bless it, is the most unique Zelda dungeon that has been created to date. It had puzzles that could not be done under any other circumstances than with a third-person control scheme. The magnificent design of this temple, however, is an unfortunate exception to the rule. This truth leads me to the best Zelda control scheme. The best control scheme of the Zelda franchise is the top-down perspective controls. This control layout is undeniably classic. From the very beginning, this system has allowed us to quest the overworld, slay beasts, and discover the many mysteries of Hyrule. It's been revamped and improved upon many times over, but it's the quintessential Zelda. When I first began to think about this list, I wanted to place 3D Zeldas at the top. I really did. But I realized soon enough that there is very little to be found in 3D Zelda control schemes that isn't already present in 2D Zeldas. You can have multiple floors, you can have the same block shifting puzzles, aiming your projectiles is more simple, and I'd even say that the sword fighting is more logical in 2D. Most of the time you're just jamming that A button anyways. The top-down perspective simply eliminates the Z-axis, which therefore eliminates the need for a target locking system. The only things that come to mind that are unique to 3D Zeldas are the puzzles that are impossible with a bird's eye view. Again, I like to direct your attention to the gravity swapping puzzles of the Stone Tower Temple. Then there are the light puzzles, like the ones found in Ocarina of Time's Spirit Temple and the Wind Waker's Earth Temple. But those puzzles could have been done essentially the same way in 2D. Moving mirrors to direct light? Try some Superstar Saga on for size. Almost anything that can be done in 3D can also be done in 2D. And better. For that reason, 2D Zelda controls are the best. It's no wonder why this control scheme has been used in more Zelda games than any other. That being said, why is it that I enjoy 3D Zeldas more despite their inferior control system? Well, to be frank, they're just better storytellers. Video games have much more to do with them than just a control scheme. That's a big part of it, of course, but we can't forget about the writing, gameplay mechanics, visual design, music, cinematics, and, oh yeah, plot. All of these things add into the aesthetic appeal of a game, and I am not one to let one aspect of the art form overrule the other facets of the creative process. Who wrote this garbage? Granted, there are some great stories to be found in 2D Zelda games. Link's Awakening had a fantastic story and writing. The Minish Cap had arguably the best art style of any other game in the series, and A Link Between Worlds offered a great amount of cinematics during its cutscenes. However, video games are more of a collective sort of thing. But now I'm just rambling. Thank you so much for watching this video, everyone. If you have something to say, like, are 2D or 3D Zeldas better? Or, what Zelda control schemes are the best? Well, chime in! I would love to talk about it with you. If you like this list, feel free to click that like button right down there, or you could be a doll and subscribe to my channel. I'm Ganon23000, and I'll see you next time. Hey guys, I know this is a little bit awkward because I just said goodbye to you, but I just wanted to let you all know that my friend and I are starting a new Let's Play of Wario Land 4 for the Game Boy Advance. This is the first time we've ever tried doing a Let's Play, so we're not really sure how it's going to turn out, but it would mean so much to me if you all wanted to view it. I'll leave a little linky-doo right here if you want to give that a click. Thanks for watching, everybody.